Okay, so we want to talk a bit about parking. Um, when you when you're doing the van life, living in a van, um, parking becomes very important, and there's a number of things that you learn how to manage. So, where do we start? So in Sydney, there are different restricted parking areas. Just in front of us here is a 1P zone. It means it's from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. It says written on the sign. You can only park there for 1 hour. Then beneath that it says permit holders accepted. That means people living in the area who've applied for a permit and can prove that they have a residence in this area can park there as much as they want or in a different restriction. Below that sign in red it says area and then a number. I think this one's area 12. That means that if you get tagged here, in the day, if your wheel gets tagged, you have to leave this area and go into area 13 or area 14 and you can park there. And then if that's a 2P, then you got 2 hours there. If it's a 1P, you have 2 hours there. So the rangers, I assume the rangers would tag you and record the number plate. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. And I don't know how strict they are if you just move your car from one parking spot to another parking spot inside the same area. Does that count as, basically they could still give you a fine if they wanted to because you're in the same area. So the best thing is to look out for parking is just simply unrestricted areas. Unrestricted areas usually exist between two no stopping signs. We have a red no stopping sign and then pointing in one direction. Then if there's no 1P in that area, if there's no P restricted area next to that no stopping sign, generally that means the side that the arrow is not pointing to, that's an unrestricted area. And if you walk in the opposite direction that the arrow is facing, you will run into another no stopping sign pointing in the opposite direction, and that'll be the end of that. Inside those two signs is safe to park all day, maybe even for 2 days or 3 days. So those are like at the flag, swim between the flags. Those are your flags. Swim in between those. Park in between those, and you can park for unlimited times. Usually in these areas you will find people who have parked trailers, or people who have left their cars or have even ditched their cars. Park the cars, you'll see the same car there parked for days and days. You might never see it leave, and you might even see some cars have stickers on them in these areas. But usually, like for example, there's one spot that I found that's really good that I park at before to leave my car at before work, and there is someone's boat and trailer is parked there, and they're in the same spot day in day out with no warning signs. And then there's a van there that has a warning sign on it that's obviously been there for too long. So that's the best thing to look for those. That's the gold stuff. There's just places you can park and relax. Then the next best thing is the large number P's. So I think you can even get a 12P. They're quite rare. 8P is also very rare. 4Ps are quite common, and 4Ps are quite great even if you want to stay overnight, because usually the restriction starts at 8 a.m. between 6 and 8 a.m. And if you have a 4p, then you can sleep in until 10 or even 12. 10 a.m. or even midday if you want to sleep in, have a rest. But you do not want to leave your car there, because after midday, your car can be ticketed. You can get a fine. So that's the very basic side of it. You can legally park anywhere outside of the restricted time periods. So it's a 1p, but from 8 p.m. to 8 a.m. every night there's no restriction, and you can park your car there all night. That's 12 hours you can park there. You won't have any problems. You have to leave before 9 the next day. Something that could happen at a 4p especially is if, say, the 4p, it's a 4p from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. and you parked at 4 p.m. and somewhere along that time you've been marked, your tire's been marked, but you don't get a ticket because it's a 4p. But then the next morning, they come back and there's another ranger sees that mark, you might end up with a ticket. That hasn't happened to me, but that's one thing that could happen. Maybe. And finally, going deep into the parking thing is that's just time zones, and time restrictions in areas, but there's a lot more to parking a van. One of them is anyone who's ever tried to sleep in a van or in a car is parking somewhere where the ground is flat. When the ground's flat, it's easy to sleep. If it's not flat, it's quite difficult to sleep. Then another thing, if there's a lot of foot traffic, you can feel quite uneasy. If there's people walking past your car, chatting or peering in, or if they're drunk and loud and these kind of things. Then what's the culture of the area? Does the place like vans? Do they like camper vans and people, or have they had do they encourage that lifestyle? Is there a culture there that is supportive of it, is interested in it, or is the culture there more uncomfortable with it, or are they tired of it? Maybe they've had problems with van people in the past, and maybe maybe you might not feel welcome there. And then there's the obvious stuff like, is it safe? And the only way to determine that, I think, is to have a look at the place during the day. You can get an idea of what the place is like, what the people in the area are like, who's walking around. At night time, it's more difficult to judge, and everything looks a bit more scary at night, or you might miss something obvious. If it's that's about it for this video, I think. So hopefully you enjoyed the video. Let me know about it. Ask some questions. Thanks. Bye.